Salutations, BraveHearts and Coach-Madd-Hattery. And welcome to Saturday, August 3rd, 2019. It is roughly about 12:30 in the afternoon. And I greet you with a Camp Creativity Story Study pop-up. And it's in honor of my godlings, aka my children. I'll say physically, biologically, and celestially, as well as the honorarium to the heart chakra, the place where Big Mama resides. And I giggle because I am a Capricorn sun, and I'm not exactly sure how many folks in this particular realm look at Saturn as a girl. Saturn is Big Mama. I know we love to call Saturn Father Time and all that kind of stuff, but Saturn is of the dark divine force. And when we're talking about light versus dark, we're talking about within versus without. And so all divine feminine force is the triple blackness, that which is within. So yes, Saturday is Big Mama's Day, as far as I'm concerned. And because she is my sun, I'm a Capricorn sun. She's my sun sign. She is the symbology of my sun sign. Yeah. Before I even go down that rabbit hole. So in contribution to her, as well as having a moment to share my time and space with you, I'll open up with this story, which is the actual basis for this particular story study pop-up. So last Wednesday, while still in the midst of all the chaotic gestures that were forming around me, packing things up to get ready to move, my youngest came over to help get some things situated, and as the evening was winding down, he suggested that we play a hand of Uno. So he took the cards to shuffle them and get ready to deal them. And so he dealt, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. And so I happened to look over and noticed that he had a full hand of green cards. Now, because he is the jokester that he is, yeah, we can ready forfeit this. You can ready deal all of them over. I'm not even ready to play this game with you. So I grabbed the hand, like, no, you can ready deal all of this, or we can ready start all over. But thanks to a new form of creativity, shout out to Lulu I love at the House of Ocean. She brought in this shift of ingenuity with regards to reading Uno cards, not exactly along the lines of traditional tarot, but infused by it, as if it was an extension of a treasure trove, if you will. So that's where the idea came from, coupled with the divine most definitely speaks in signs and symbols and stories and songs, etc., etc. And Uno cards. Go figure. So, I took the cards, and before I was about to put them back in the deck, something said, lay them out and see if there's a message there. Now, I don't read them the way Lulu I Love reads them, mainly because my knowledge of tarot is not as extensive. But here's the beginning measure. So the cards are in association with our chakra stations, right? And so the red cards it corresponds with the root. The yellow cards is for the solar plexus. The green is for the heart. The blue is for the throat. Now the wild cards can cover the sacral and the crown, since there are no orange or purple cards. The reverse is an indication that whatever it is that I was thinking, I need to switch it up. That how I am feeling about a certain person, place, thing, situation, it's time to reverse those thoughts and bring in new energy with the way I feel and think about something. Now, the skip card to me is the indication of a full circle with a balance beam in the middle, which can either mean that what comes to mind has come full circle and that we are now in balance, or I must take an account of something, give it a little bit more time and attention so that it may become full balanced, full circled, and balanced. And it really truly depends on how I am approaching the thoughts that are bubbling up as I am contemplating a particular situation and how I'm going to look at it with regards to that card. When we speak so lightly about, well, that was the cards that I was dealt, or it just wasn't in the cards for me, do we really take that seriously? And I mean seriously enough that we find out what's written in the stars, what's being communicated through the cards. Are we really truly forecasting the balance of our thoughts, feelings, intuition, and sensation through the energetic levels that the planetary alignments are ushering us? Are we being aware of what we respond to versus what we react to? What we initiate versus what we patiently wait to come to us? And I ask the questions in this manner mainly from the angle of now being on the other side of July. July was the, oh my goodness, it was the example, it was the living example of being put through the ringer. And not physically, but emotionally and intellectually. So I took the cards and I set those cards aside. And from the moment my mind said that there was a message, I had become consumed with decoding this particular message. With them all being green, I knew that it was specifically a message for my emotional body, and that I was to decipher it in that manner. So the first card that came out was a number 6 upside down. So I read it as is the number 6 in reverse. And according to the fundamental basis of numerology, the number 6 could either mean, and when, okay, so how can I say this? So, the number 6 stands for or symbolizes uh, the nurture, the artist, the humanitarian, the balance of it all. Or it can mean stubbornness, self-righteousness, obstinacy. So as I collected all the fundamentals with regard to numerology, everything before the or is what I will decipher if when the card comes upright. When the card is upside down, I am to focus on everything after the or. Okay? So with that being said, with the green 6 upside down, it reminded me to keep an eye on my stubbornness, my self-righteousness, my abilities to tap into those energies, because just with my sunstone alone, it comes very easy for me to dig my hooves in. Remember, we're the goats. Capricorns are the sea goats. So it's very easy for me to dig my hoofs into a situation and claim it to be of some sort of self-induced righteousness. Had to watch out for that. And with it being the first card out, also told me that I had a higher risk of that taking place if I did not keep an eye on that. And so the next card out was 9 upright. So it affirmed to me that I was still within my creative spaces. I still was taking on the notion to be a giver, even in the midst of my mind feeling like I have absolutely nothing to give. Seeing this card begged to differ. It said you do. You have time, you have attention, you have sharing of your triumphs and your trials. You can give absolute transparency even inside those tender moments. The number 9 fundamentally in numerology also depicts warmth through communications and a welcoming personality. This has already been in the forefront of my newness since the beginning of the year. Deciphering that through that card affirmed that I am still on my destined path to be that which I aim to be, which is a warm communicator, a welcoming personality, as well as a giving and creative soul. It's very important to me that I stay within my creativity and I continue to give freely, tangibly and intangibly. The next card out is the green reverse, the actual reverse card. And so I'm just going to read the note that bubbled up with regards to focusing on this card. So, the heart chakra station is getting in alignment with its assignment to give and receive love, lesson, longevity, and livelihood. Gaining empowerment through individuality and increasing intrapersonal connectivities and emotional independence, which is imminent. Most of the time when I hear about independence, it usually has something to do with finances or even dependence. Has a lot to do with one's financial footing. Emotional independence is gaining its proper place in the pie of success. It's being taken more seriously instead of being ignored or shunned. Less and less is it being communicated as a sign of weakness. I think because one's emotional body was so complicated, and because we had lived in such a hyper scientific era, because it could not be, uh, what is it I'm looking for, substantially measured and counted, that it just went shoved up under, you know, logic. It took the back seat to logic. It took the back seat to all that could be measured and counted. And then it almost became a bad word. Those that are overly emotional still get a bad rep for being so. And being a coach of social and emotional intelligence, it continues to strike me odd how the turnaround is still slow and that we will still group emotional illness as mental illness. Such two totally different entities. And in my younger years, I constantly was grouped into those arenas that wanted to characterize me as being mentally ill. And I without falter, like, no, there's nothing wrong with my brain or my thought pattern. A lot of this is a result of a broken heart. And it has nothing to do with romantic gesture. Heart was broken long before I even knew anything about romance. And we so lazily like to chalk it up as someone's you bitter. I don't know what man broke your heart. Woo woo woo. It ain't got nothing to do with that. So to see that card in the reverse affirmed to me that my heart has taken on the effects of the inner work and the inner healing of becoming whole. Nothing to do with romance. Now, had my romantic encounters been affected due to already dealing with existing with a broken heart? Yes. So it made me feel good as well to see this, to become to become a lot more confident, to look forward to the next romantic gesture with a more whole heart. That means love will come a lot more freely. Communication will come a lot more freely. Excited about that. Because I had walked into a space where I halted all romantic gesture, determined that I was not going to enter into another experience with a broken heart. It wasn't fair to me or the one that I would be loving. And I don't date. And I know this might be a little personal for what we're talking about. We're talking about the heart, though, right? So, I don't date. Have never been one to do this whole dating thing. For each his own, right? That's just too much activity going on for me. So, and I'm not even sure, what that was all about, but okay, yeah, que sera, sera. Let's keep it moving. Okay, so the next card out, it was the green number 5, and then a green number 5, and then a draw 2. Remember, all cards are green. So it struck me odd that 2 5s would be upside down next to each other with the very next card being a draw 2. What it said to me was that I needed to pay keen attention, and I mean undivided attention, to the moments where I could easily become impatient, drain my drive for perseverance, become restless, and impulsive. And with both of those 5s upside down, it was very, plus the draw 2, it was very clear to me that those were my triggers during this moment of having to uproot and move again. Because in a span of 2 years, moved 3 times. And it was just wearing on my heart so heavily that I could feel me when I was on the outskirts of agitation. Talk about a cranky pants. Oh yeah, I was a cranky pants. Very, very just touchy, touchy, tender cranky pants. And at this particular moment, with all that I had learned, as well as launching the Coach-Madd-Hattery's Underland University and stepping into the realms of radio and just rebuilding and getting all the work in, studying on the lines of my story with regards to myself, and really digging deep into trying to find the root causes of certain things that for me to step into my moments of impatience was going to deplete my drive for perseverance and spin me into this moment of restlessness, and my moments of impulse was going to do more damage than it was worth. And that those cards coming out that way was pretty much the universe, the divine, my memo from my celestial body saying, pay attention to this. You're going to undo all that you've learned. Pay attention to this. And so the last card out was the number 2, upright, which confirmed and affirmed that I am still on my path to sound spiritual orientation. I am in the space where I am more cooperative and considerate and sincere, which gave me the indication that I had much to lose if I did not go with the flow inside this major transition, and that it was not as bad as it seemed. And that on the other side of the situation, certain things would become even more clear that will solidify the fact that I am and have received my certificate of certain spiritual orientations and sincerity. And even after much contemplation, um, with the cards that my son was holding, just the way that those cards were delivered to me through my youngest. And I always say when him, his brother, his sister, when they come through the door, they bring the sunshine in with them. Even if they are a bit upset with me, my heart liftens, is that a word? Lifts, lightens, there we go. It lifts and lightens the moment I lay eyes on them. And they're free with their laughter and their hugs. And, yeah, they're free with that. So it was such divine timing to receive it. And then on top of that, to have it be delivered to me in that manner. And then for me to have the awareness that my messages could be coming from all sorts of sources. It was just an incredible moment. And even with me thinking about it at this day, with it coming to me in such a uh, tender, with inside such a tender transition, while my emotional body was being challenged and my uh, my 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 maturity was being tested. My theory was being put into practice. So it was quite an interesting ordeal, to say the least. So I'll end it there and have this serve as Saturday's contribution of camp creativity as well as the story study pop-up. What I'm hoping is that if you've made it to this point in the segment, that something I've said has resonated to the point where you can write it down in your journal and take reflection of it. And it'll give you some type of clarity with regards to maneuvering out of July and into August, that there is no good and bad and righteousness and evil, that it really is lesson in all of it. And the more tougher the lesson, the more grander the triumph. So I thank you for your presence and I wish you well.